after finishing third in the NFC East, but now the Star has a new head coach, and he's looking to bring back the winning culture. Brian Schottenheimer told our Todd Archer that he wants Dallas greats from the 1990s in the building, saying, quote, I think the more guys that are around, the more we see their Super Bowl rings, which they wear very proudly. I think that's great for our guys because that's why we do it. We don't hide from that, end quote. Kevin, your reaction to Brian Schottenheimer's comments are?
First of all, it's good. Like, there are some organizations that shun their former players or keep them at arm's length and don't want them around. It's good to embrace your history. There's a couple things about it. Number one is the Super Bowl ring guys are going to come around and say, oh, this team is not even close to the level of talent that we had 30 years ago or 50 years ago, depending on when you won those rings. But no, I think that a lot goes into winning culture, and you don't really know what it is, but I think that they're the third best team in the division, and that's not, you don't get a ring for that. Yeah, I guess they could print some. I know if Jerry could make money, he'd print third place ranks.
Mike T?
Yeah, no, look, I agree similar to Kevin. Like, I think Brian Schottenheimer is going to do a great job. I worked with him for a long time in New York. He's very relatable to the players, and let's face it, Dak Prescott at $60 million a year had to sign off on this hiring, so that's a great start. Their defense is going to be a work in progress, but this is a team that I think will play better than expected, probably in third place. Far cry from where the expectations were a year or two ago, but maybe that gives them a little time to build things the right way.
Yeah, I have a personal story. It's kind of similar to this. Earlier this week, I was a little bit nervous about First Take and how I was going to feel about doing this thing. And then I saw Kevin Clark here in the green room, and they said, this guy's been on here a lot. He's a world champion First Take person. I said, oh, well, if Kevin Clark could do this, I could definitely do this. This is something that'll motivate the Cowboys. They see other champions out there, then maybe that'll make them feel like, hey, I could do this too. So I think that this could have a similar impact on them.
Come collect your First Take Summer Friday ring.
There you go. We got it.
Those had diamonds on it? Worth
Lots of
anything?
diamonds. Yeah, lots
Rubber?
of diamonds. Yeah, very nice.
Okay. All jokes aside, did Mike McCarthy not embrace the history enough? Because it feels like every Cowboys coach has to go through this and play to the past, which you should do. But does this actually translate to wins? Do you think this is more just a feel-good sort of story that we're talking about in the offseason, or can this actually have a tangible effect?
Yeah, I think Mike McCarthy is a very good coach, but the expectations were just too much, and they really never got over the hump. And let's face it, at this point, Philadelphia certainly has surpassed them, and Washington is certainly well on their way. And that's why I think the difference is, hey, you can embrace your past, you can learn from the all-time greats, Troy, Emmett, and the like, but it's the expectations that, again, this is beyond, Dak, the nucleus is very young. Now, they got to figure out what to do with George Pickens, but that's why I think he has a chance to have a good first season and establish a program here.
I think part of it, Courtney, is it speaks to how much goes into being the Cowboys coach. It's not football.
Yeah.
It's not only embracing the history. You go to an Oxnard training camp practice, and you got to go glad hand with CSI actors and embrace 5,000 fans who all came from all over America to see it. It's different in Dallas. It really is. And so I think it's just about, hey, bring everybody back, embrace the community, embrace the job, because it's a one-of-one job.
Well, that's the lore of the Dallas Cowboys. Now, whether it's relevant today or not, I think remains to be seen. And since we love leaning into a theme here on First Take, where we have to ask on America's birthday, who is the real America's team? Is it Dallas, Mike D?
Yeah, I think it is for now. I mean, because we talk about them a lot. The owner is out, has press conferences almost every day, to Kevin's point. But I think if we would spin this question forward, I'm going with the Kansas City Chiefs over the next decade, because they have the Michael Jordan of this era in Patrick Mahomes. They have a Hall of Fame coach. They have sort of the foundation of being a dynastic team. And geographically, they are right smack in the middle. So I'm saying Dallas for today, but Kansas City for tomorrow.
Okay, David?
Okay, so, they also have the benefit of the Taylor Swift thing. When you've got Swifties on board, that helps too. But the idea that winning is part of what makes you America's team, I don't think that's necessarily the case. If that was the case, the Cowboys would not have been America's team for a very long time. I think America's team is just about the fanaticism, the fandom, and you're not going to wrangle that away from the Cowboys. If you go on here, if I look in this camera right now and say the Cowboys are trash, my mentions are going to be on fire with some of the worst things I could ever imagine people being said, because there's so much fanaticism about the Dallas Cowboys. They are America's team. They're not a good team, and they're all over primetime. Every single year, they bring in the ratings. Everybody has an opinion about the Cowboys, love or not. People don't watch sports. They either love the Cowboys or they hate the Cowboys. They are quintessentially America's team, and it is sort of baked into America's culture so much that I don't know how anybody can just rip it from the claws of the Cowboys.
So David, I agree with you in that you're never going to have a bigger fan base than the Cowboys. It is unbelievable. We all work in media or the internet. We understand what the numbers are. Okay, that's why we talk about the Cowboys so much. But when I talk about what it means to be America's team, what it means to be American, I don't think there's any team more American than the Detroit Lions. What it means to be a football fan in America and to just hope for something better, know something, just have the faith that something is going to happen that is great. That's been the Lions fan base for 50, 60 years. It's finally happening. I spent time with Dan Campbell when he first took the job, and he was choking up thinking about all that Lions fans have been through, because he's talking about he was a player there in 2008 when the housing market crashed and the car company started to go under. And he understood their pain. That's what he wanted to say. He said when he took the job, he wanted Detroit fans to know he understood their pain and felt it. It's just a community thing that spreads to the entire country. If they make the Super Bowl, it is going to be a national event.
You could be describing the Cleveland Browns, though, based on your logic.
Well,
there of, like,
one
teams
team
that
is
have suffered,
one team is
fan bases
good.
that
One
have
team is
suffered.
good.
So I think winning should be a big qualifier for why you're America's team. Because I remember literally 365 days ago, I did this exact topic sitting in this chair here on First Take, and I said it was the Kansas City Chiefs because they were coming off of a Super Bowl. Right now, I'm saying it is the Philadelphia Eagles. And it's not just the fact that they won a Super Bowl. That's obviously a big one. They've been there multiple times since 2017. They also have three of the most likable players in the NFL. Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Saquon Barkley. Like, you guys are looking at me like I have five heads. Tell me I'm wrong on any of that. These
Rough
people,
off season for our guy Saquon, but that's
these people are a brand in their own right. The team is becoming a brand in its own right, a national brand, an international brand. So you combine all of those things together, they have every single makeup that the Dallas Cowboys have, yet they're actually successful. Like, that to me is what makes America's team. Who in America are the hunted, and who in America is the team that's winning the most? That is the Philadelphia Eagles.
No, I don't think I just don't think that the Philadelphia Eagles are ever going to surpass the Dallas Cowboys. I'm going to go back to this Detroit thing. I think Detroit, I don't want them to be America's team. I don't think Detroit necessarily wants to be American. They embody the city of Detroit. That team embodies one team, one city more than Detroit does. I think it's good to keep them insulated into Detroit because Detroiters, I'm not sure if Detroiters want all these other people coming in and hopping on the bandwagon for their team. They love that team.
One thing about Detroit, though, and Dan Campbell, I work with Dan. He is unbelievably relatable. He is the common man's head coach. And again, I don't know if they'll have the platform of a Kansas City or a Dallas, but
a wider smile brightens more than just your teeth. Colgate Optic Whites.
there is a likability about Detroit starting with their head coach.
Yeah, I mean, certainly they live up to the grit and grind nature that is Detroit. I feel like they've got Eminem there pretty much every single game. There's not a bigger celebrity in the city of Detroit than the guy who made the city famous on the music scene.
How many times can you perform Lose Yourself?
All right, there are a ton of players in the NFL in the league who are explosive. Who's going to provide the most fireworks this upcoming season? We've got huge disagreement on the way. And the Kentucky Derby and tailgating, traditions unlike any other in sports, but will they make my A-list of the top sporting traditions in the USA? Buckle up, folks.
Not going anywhere because we're talking NFL, where the Cowboys are the focus of today's required reading at ESPN.com. Todd Archer examined the ways in which Dallas is turning to past stars to inspire the current team. One note that stood out comes from new head coach Brian Schottenheimer, who said the following, quote, "I think the more those guys are around, the more we see their Super Bowl rings, which they wear very proudly. I think that's great for our guys because that's why we do it. We don't hide from that." So, Cowboys, Kevin, I looked this up, haven't been to the Super Bowl in a while. I don't know if that's mentioned.
This can backfire because they can see the Super Bowl rings and go, oh, we're not those guys, and we're far away from those guys. So I'm not sure how helpful this is really going to be.
But, I mean, is there a lot of pressure? I mean, like Brian Schottenheimer, first-year coach, kind of nobody saw coming in terms of a hire. Is there a lot of pressure on him?
No, there's not. In my opinion, we know what the Cowboys are. They're going to win 9, 10, 11 games. They're not going to win the Super Bowl. They don't have the talent for that. You don't hire Brian Schottenheimer if you're a Super Bowl contender. So, by definition, Schottenheimer is not under pressure. I just don't think it's that kind of team.
But you do hire Brian Schottenheimer if you believe that he can take this offense and the quarterback, Dak Prescott, to a whole nother level, which I believe they can, and here's why. They now have 3 first-round picks on the offensive line.
Yeah.
Kind of reminds me of our really good New York Jet days when Brian Schottenheimer was our offensive coordinator. We had a great offensive line, and if they could stabilize that, get Dak to play in 17 games, control the ball, which is something Brian believes in, that will minimize the biggest deficiency of this team, which is their defense. I think they could win 9 or 10 games. I think that's a successful season for Brian Schottenheimer. And Graz, I agree with what Kevin said. Like, I don't think there's a lot of pressure because for once we're talking about the Dallas Cowboys, not with these massive expectations. So I think clearly Philly and Washington have much greater expectations, and I think Brian can establish a lot of credibility in year one.
What do you think, Harry? What would success look like for Brian Schottenheimer in his first year as head coach?
I would say having the ability to make the playoffs, but I do agree also with Kevin and Mike Tannenbaum. When you look at Brian Schottenheimer, one of the reasons why they hired him, you look at him offensively, they did not run the football successfully. He did that with the New York Jets. Mike T, he was there with him. He also did that when he was with the Seattle Seahawks. What has kind of been one of the deficiencies of the Dallas Cowboys in their offense, the inability to run the football. I do not believe that you can contend at any level of football if you're not balanced offensively. And that's exactly what they're going to be this year. He's going to make it a point of emphasis from OTAs to training camp on to the regular season. I understand that they acquired George Pickens, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to run the football. I believe in that offensive line. They're young, but they have invested into that offensive line. Those guys are going to be better. And the better they are, the better the Cowboys will be as the season goes along as well.
When Dak came into the league, they had the monster offensive line with all those first-round picks. They had the great running game with Ezekiel Elliott. Like, do they have the personnel to be that kind of team again?
No, they don't. And by the way, you mentioned how good Shotty was running the football with New York. Mike T got him some studs in the backfield. There's no Mike T there. There's just Jerry Jones messing up the roster as it goes along.
But we did overpay Damian Woody, so there's that.
Damian Woody. Yeah, I thought for a second you were talking about Jerry Jones was going to be the running back, but which I think would be hilarious. But no.
See that depth chart?
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see what happens with the running game. All right, it's Independence Day, so we decided we would ask our football analysts each for an independent thought. I want something that's just yours. I'm not hearing it everywhere else.
Welcome back to Dallas Insider, your home for everything Dallas Cowboys and Dallas Mavericks. Today, we're diving into a critical storyline heading into the Cowboys' 2025 training camp that every true fan needs to follow. While the wide receiver room has been the center of excitement, the Cowboys are quietly facing a decision at the tight end position that could reshape the roster before Week 1. The name at the center of it all? Luke Schoonmaker. For many, this might feel like a minor footnote, but the way this situation unfolds could impact the Cowboys' offensive flexibility, cap structure,